Hello, good afternoon, UK. This is Tim. I'm your host all the way till 3 p.m. Now, we're talking to you about today. We've got a cool topic in the lines of UK and tech companies. Now, if you're looking at tech companies, we've actually, been in the lines of how there's Elon Musk going to the moon. He's been promoting going to the moon. We have Richard Branson talking about Virgin Galactic pushing forward to the moon. The Blue Origin with Jeff Bezos. Now these are just three private companies, right? But then not private, but then semi-private. I mean, you have these public companies, but these are governed by majority of companies. But when it comes to governments, you've got Russia, you've got the UAE, and then you got China. We just had this conversation about the rocket that China sent to outer space, but it didn't really get to. But no, there is a ton of conversation around this whole going to the moon, going to Mars, going to outer space conversation, even if it is coming to repopulating, or if it is gonna come towards another point in the life cycle, if it is just space travel as well. Now to come to UK, and to come to any conversation around how the UK is looking at improving their performance in this space. There are a number of tech companies that are actually pushing for planning to return to the moon. Now when you're talking about you know basically the topic, we go in the lines of how UK tech companies at heart of plan to return to the moon. Now we know that there has been a whole conversation around how there has been a lot of movement to the moon in the past, but we're looking more in the lines of how when it comes to the moon, we are trying to move other operations, or even when it comes to different movements, we are, it's necessary that people calculate how much of work is going into this. But if you're not looking at the hardware side of things, you've got at least you've at least got the software side that can actually assist all these operations. But now coming to the tech companies, and coming to the heart of the plans to return to the moon, the first commercial servicing of its kind, right? Now these guys are actually called the now if you're talking about how the first commercial of this size, basically they are talking about how NASA is planning on returning to the moon by 2024. But apart from that, with working with the ESA, there are other plans for partners to intend a gateway, with living quarters for astronauts in a lunar orbit. Now we know that this whole conversation with space travel, space tourism, if it is Mars, if it is the moon, there is a whole ton of operations that go behind it. But I think this is a pretty cool logistically, I think this is a pretty impressive, perspective, or an important point as well that needs to be communicated. So to go deeper into this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually push you onto some of our videos so you understand who we are and what we do at Relax Radio. You can actually call me up on this number. It's 07852 and just let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know what you want to clarify in the lines of this whole topic, or where you think the world is going to go. Just feel free to comment on this video. You can call me up, you can message me, you can WhatsApp me as well, and we'll get things going very soon. That's right. So this is Tim. I'm back with you with more news around what is happening in the lines of the UK. And more importantly, the moon, or when it comes to space travel, when it comes to improvement in space travel, and anything to do with transport or logistics. Now this European Space Agency, they're worth over £2 million, and they've got the shape of an infrastructure for further lunar exploration. Now these guys are called the Surrey Satellite Technology, and in Marsat at and MDA UK, they are among some of those who won contracts with the European space. And when you're talking about the agency, you're looking at future lunar exploration. So when you're looking at NASA, and when it comes to returning to the moon by 2024, working with the ESA and other partners. Now, these guys intend to actually push a gateway with living quarters for the astronauts in lunar orbit. How cool is that? I mean, this is I'd say fun in terms of, of feasibility, practicality. I'm not too sure about how far this is going to go, but talking further about this topic, you need a reliable navigation and telecommunication, partner or resource for this, right? So, when you're talking about the capabilities, when you're talking about the essentials, these are for missions, right? And when, just like you talk about the others that may like it, you are talking about people all over the world. These people will be hugely excited by the upcoming missions to Mars, or the moon, and then talking about how people are very proud about the UK space, and the companies that are leading the way to push for space travel, or if it is space agencies, UK tech, all these topics. Now our science minister Amanda Soloway, she's basically spoken about this as well. Now she's talking about how she is proud of all this space travel conversation going on, having the UK being a part of this conversation, and having to contribute as a majority, I'd say, an important stakeholder in this whole shift, right? But to talk about the British expertise in navigation, in telecommunication, these are second to none, obviously. And to talk about how, as we are the first of its kind commercial service, these guys are spearheaded. We are spearheaded in the lines of, the most commercial service. We're talking about innovative businesses. We're talking about our ambitions, or even the UK, coming to a world leading space station. So just like the ESA, the Moonlight program, these are all Guildford based SSTL Lunar, which will definitely lead a consortium. And also, when you're talking about Airbus, you're talking about Portsmouth, Goonhilly, East. This is the Earth Station in Cornwall, Nottingham, satellite navigation companies, GMV, NSL. Now, these are planning to, push for the lines of providing data, providing, additional services for communication and navigation around the moon, right? Now, when we go further, what we're doing is, we're looking at, I'd say, as a whole, my personal take is how, or, I'm looking at it in the macro. I'm trying to see of it in the lines of not which company is really going to get to do this, but what type of ripple effect could it cause on all, UK technology companies or startups, or how many new companies could come out in the lines of operations for this, industry. Because you're talking about a strict, strictly new industry. It's leaving new space for new margins, new market caps in terms of new industries, new clients, and you're looking at a ton of performance from here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it down further into what type of navigation systems, what breakdowns of services that these guys are looking at providing, or breaking down the geographical spacecraft, the and they're talking about the spots finder, talking about the communications, talking about how, who, and what companies, what groups of people are actually involved in this. But I'll be getting right to that after a quick couple of videos talking to you, showing you who we are at Relax Radio. Stay tuned, everyone. Good. Yes. So I'm back to talk to you about how the conversation around UK and tech is actually merging. So when we come into the lines of robotic or harbor science, we are talking about innovation. We're talking about Oxfordshire. We're talking about a consortium of Telepasio. And when it comes to Italy, you are looking at the investigating the development of lunar communications and the navigation service. So to support future science, the exploration and commercial activities in the orbit above or the surface of the moon, right? So when it comes to communications, the important thing is navigation. You need both core capabilities or on the ground and in the orbit, right? So, it's only natural for people to expand their reach or their leverage to know how or beyond the planet or the moon these guys can perform. Now, when you're talking about the Lunar project, you're only talking about the first step towards unlocking future opportunities. And this can come in the lines of, the hub to facilitate human space exploration. You're talking about future technologies, you're talking about developments, and perhaps access to new resources, right? I mean, these are going to push obviously new innovations or new discoveries forcefully, because this whole industry is pushing for a new conversation. I mean, when you're talking about new conversations, I'm talking in the lines of operations. I'm talking in the lines of food. I'm talking in the lines of when it comes to what chemicals go into food, or what could actually keep astronauts more energetic over a longer period of time efficiently, right? Because if you didn't know, people actually talk about, I mean, these astronauts or space engineers have to actually calculate down to the gram of how much of food they're actually sending to space, or water. I mean, without these, you need people that are in space to survive, or you need them to have a capacity of I'd say digestion or consumption. So when you're talking about David Kenyon, this is the managing director of the MDA Space Robotics, and MDA UK is talking about a long history of supporting commercial and governmental space missions. Now, this guy is basically delighted. He says that he's delighted to contribute to these expertise as a part of the program. And when you're talking about future lunar economy, these guys are looking in the lines of baseline for this is a new and innovative service. When you're talking about findings for the size and health of the UK space industry, these are also coming to around a $14.8 billion to $16.4 billion sector. And when you're representing growth, you're talking about 5.7% in terms of employment, from 3,000% all the way up to 45,100. Now, this is super. I mean, in terms of employment, in terms of revolutionizing, I'm super happy to hear about this. I want to know what you guys have to say about it. Actually, feel free to comment here below. Let us know what your take is on the topic here with regard to the UK moving to space. So I'll be right back with you. I'm with you all the way to 3 p.m. This is Tim, and I'll be talking to you about a more, I'd say more topics. I'm gonna actually show you what I'll be talking about. So I've actually got the talking about again the UK's tech sector and how it's growing a tenfold. It's looking to grow a tenfold in the next 10 years. And I mean, when you're talking about Leonard Balavink, now this is the newest. I mean, I'd say the billionaire. This is the richest person in the UK. But I'll be talking about them in the next show. I want you to stay tuned right here on the Buzz, and I'll be right back with you very